Hello, YouTube people. YouTube is a new word for it. Back in the shop with F-14. Last video we did all the internal structure, glued that all in under the aft top portion of the mold. And now you can kind of see everything going on under that forward portion. These two bulkheads here, they're supporting bulkheads for that carbon box spar, which I haven't shown you guys since I have installed. So basically, there's that carbon spar. You can see you got two access hatches so you can get to the bolt holes, or the nuts for the bolts for the brackets here on the edge. And something that wasn't really expecting or planning on, or however you want to say it, or look at it, is the wing sweep actuators are a lot shorter than the ones I originally planned on using. The ones I originally planned on using were like 150 pounds of force and like 150 pounds to back drive them, which is just way overkill. And the things are heavy; they're like 3 pounds a piece. Probably similar to the ones that I think Bob had for the big V1. And I was expecting to use those on this, but it's just way overkill and it's not necessary. So what I've done is I've gone to a Fragile L16 linear actuator with the slowest gearing ratio I can find, which is also the highest force. And they're only about 6 inches long compared to those big ones, which are like 12 inches long. So now that instead of having a huge structure right here for that bracket, for that actuator to attach to, now I got to come up with structure right here. So what I'm debating is either coming up with that 1/4 inch 12 ply. I've got some 3/32 stuff, which is a little too thin for some of it. But I'm thinking of doubling up that 3/32 for the actual mounting plate. And then I've got some 1/8 inch carbon and Airex sandwich material, and building a shelf here between the two of them to support them here, and then another kind of like triangular bracket to come in here and to kind of triangulate all that stuff together. And that'll tie into those bulkheads, and you'll have the two mounting platforms that the things will bolt to, and then you'll have a platform that runs across the front side of this bracket, or this spar, the full width. And on this platform there'll be a ton of lightning holes, but it'll also hold the actuator control boards, because there's two of those, and there'll be nice little cases, or a single case here in the middle. But it'll hold that, and you'll be all good to go. And then there's also going to be a pair of fuel tanks right here too, and those might actually come out to here. There's so much stuff to fit in this airplane. It's like all this room, and you got to kind of figure out where you want to put it. The unfortunate part of that is I can't figure out where a lot of this stuff's going to go until I get all the stuff here. And as usual, the money situation is not exactly the greatest, so I'm doing as good as I can to get this stuff as quickly as possible. Like I said last video, I believe the retract mounted rails are a little too far outboard by about 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch. So I can't put those in until I get the landing gear, and I don't have the near $4,000 for the landing gear at the moment. So just gonna have to wait till tax time, or a big donation. So anyways, see here I got the two inlet duct moldings. They're primed, they're just glass. They're not really strong. I mean, you can push in on them. I'm not worried about these things being super heavy duty, because I mean it's just a duct for the air to go to. So you can see they stick past the bulkheads here, and the reason why they stick past is I'm gonna machine up a carbon, or a plug for the bypass that'll be carbon fiber. They'll slip right over this lip of the inlet duct, and it'll butt up right against this bulkhead here. They'll come back and it'll lay over either the top or the bottom of these turbine mounting rails, which you can't see because the flange is in the way. Then the turbine will sit in there, and everything will be enclosed in a bypass. And I'm going to work with try and get a couple of companies to work with me on the tailpipe. So instead of having the cooling air coming from outside of the bypass from inside the airframe, the cooling air actually come from all inside this this inlet duct, because I mean there's so much room. I mean it's a 6-inch opening here compared to if you're going out to maybe a 2.5 to 3-inch tailpipe. So there's no point having all this air spilling inside the fuselage and then working its way out the back. I just streamline it and I'll have the actual thrust portion and the cooling tube of the tailpipes inside the bypass. A little different. The cooling portion of the tube will have to be probably a lot larger, just because of the amount of volume going in. One way or the other though, the air is going to get through there and out and cool itself. So that's the point. Whether it happens or not, we'll see. So from this bulkhead back, it's pretty much all glued in. The high saw is nice and hard. This E20 HP has a 20-minute working life, and it's like 40 minutes till they say tack free. I came about an hour later, and it was still a little sticky, but it was kind of cool out in the garage. It's only about 70 degrees compared to, I think their tack free at 40 minutes is like at 85 or something like that. But anyway, everything's in here nice and good. This one bulkhead here is the only one that's free, and that's so these inlet ducts can get moved around. Because as the previous videos I showed you guys, these actually have a lip where they overlap this Airex molded portion of it. So I've got to go around here and draw some lines on here, make sure to get everything where it's supposed to be positioned. It's all positioned pretty well. And the lines I'm going to draw are just kind of a reference point for me to realize where everything's got to slide back into position. So I'm going to get my Sharpie. Like I said, this is just all reference stuff from my point of view. That way when I push everything back in, I know everything will be exactly where it's supposed to be. Hopefully. There again, there's going to be a big fuel tank right here. So I've got the area back here directly under the camera. Basically, I can fit about half a gallon back there. It's just about a quarter of a gallon per airplane. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have that as like a hopper tank. Your UATs will sit basically right here in this area along with the fuel pumps. And then the main fuel tanks are going to be right here. I'm going to try and fit about, I'd like to get about a gallon and a half per engine in this thing, so about 3 gallons of fuel total, which means I gotta fit basically 2 gallons of fuel right here. We'll see if it should be easy enough. It should be possible. It'll have to be 2 tanks. I'll make one big plug and then I'll cut it, or glass, and then I'll cut it right down the center. Kind of sand a little bit of a sandwich out of it. Anyway, I'll talk about that more often when I actually get to that point. So everything's kind of marked where it's at. Again, these landing gear plates are here to actually help align these bulkheads all together, because they're notched to where they fit. I'm gonna get some either a cold or allergy or something kicking my butt today, at least this evening. So move that back, and you see, just pulls right out. It's a very tight-fitting apparatus. And since it's one molded for both sides, they don't fit perfectly. Actually, there's a fairly large gap right here between this portion and the flange. So really the only way you can fix that is body work. It saves me a lot of time, because I don't have to sit here and figure out exactly what's got to happen. I didn't have to angle the thing for it. Just a little bit of body work. You guys will be fine. I know y'all can do it. We've all done it for time and time again. Alright. That big high saw tube, yeah, that one that's almost 7 ounces. I went through half of that one. Hard to believe it, half of one tube. And these things, if they're like the small ones, you can actually pull the center part out of this and clean it with some acetone. It's a little difficult, but it's possible. Maybe we'll get the high saw out of the fridge and put it back in the gun, and we'll glue some stuff. The trick to these ISOL things is there's a couple of guys on eBay that will sell some that are getting pretty close to their shelf life. Like this stuff, it says used by July of next year. Well, once it gets under about a year old, they'll like literally liquidate this stuff at cost. I bought these 2 tubes for basically the cost of 1 tube with a good shelf life on it. Yeah, I just actually bought another tube tonight because I knew I was going to go through the good bit of the majority of the rest of this tube, getting the bottom of this structure done, and then probably the rest of this one, and then some of the following tube, if not another whole tube, to join the tops to it. So again, eBay, as useless as it is at times, does have its benefits. Or sometimes it can seem like you get on there and you try to win something and you don't get anything out of it. Get some sandpaper, it's gonna scuff up the flange there. Should have done that earlier, but whatever. This is just 80 grit paper. On a stick paper. Get a little rag with some acetone on it to clean that up. And then don't mix up which side goes where. That always makes things a little more entertaining on figuring out. Just gotta run a bead of glue. Fairly large bead on the flanges of this thing. I get it there. There we go. Take it here, and I'm going to actually start from the top and slide it straight down. And this bulkhead, I'm just going to kind of caddy corner here, just help support it. Then I'll go do the other side. As my tongue leaks ice all everywhere. pressure there. Stay going. Same thing with this one, just gonna kind of run from the top, just slide straight on down. Put the bulkhead in here. I'm gonna slide it all the way forward, and then I'm gonna pick up on it. Then I'm gonna run the Hysol gun down there at the bottom to put the glue under the bulkhead. If I can get the gun down in there. There we go. Not the easiest thing to do with this big old gun. But since you can't get to the front side of this bulkhead, you got to make sure you get enough glue in there. So you get a nice fit. Now, place get the landing gear plates here kind of put in position. We'll throw some glue on the rest of these bulkheads that we couldn't get in front of it a moment ago. Unfortunately, this bulkhead was just a little short there at the bottom. I'm having to a little bit more glue down there than I wanted. But you gotta do what you gotta do. Then like I said, since this stuff runs, I'll put a little bit of a glob there, and a little bit here along the top of the inlet duct. Just kind of help tie this stuff all in together. Now since our inlet ducts kind of moved a little bit, there's a little bit more ice on here in the top part. That's all I'm going to do for those. I'm going to make a holder for this thing. It's so dang big, so I don't want to sit anywhere. Dang. Alright. Finger back in the glove, or the food baggie. Make nice pretty fillets. Clean up my my gun here. Now, to help hold this in place, I'm just going to take some balsa sticks. Now I'm just going to kind of snap one off, shove it down in here, making sure I don't put it on the glue. The reason for the balsa sticks are just gonna act like kind of shims. Put them down in here and it'll shim that glass up against the edge of it nice and tight. And it should, at the same time, hold this top portion down as well. There we go. Snap that one off. Now, what I'll do is the top of the mold is going to go back on. The reason why, make sure this bulkhead gets pressed down all the way. probably wondering what else is left before I can close up this fuselage. Really, at this point, fuel tanks and sweep actuator structure. And that's really about it. I mean, I would really love to have the set of landing gear for this thing before I close it up, because there's so much more access to it with it like this. So I may, as much as I don't want to wait, I may just end up waiting until I get the landing gear to close this thing up and pull it out. So there we go. This that's all the internal, well, all the primary internal structure. Like I said, there's just a little bit more here and there to do. Nose gear stuff can't do until I get landing gear. Equipment mounts and all that stuff I can't really do until I get the equipment. I do have the majority of the servos. I only need like 4 or 5 more servos. Everything else I've got. I've got a receiver. I've got batteries. I need turbines. I mean, right now everything except for, well, I mean, I'm waiting on parts and material. That's like the first time I can say that on this project, and actually not have anything that I can do. Wing molds are primed. They're ready to go. I can cut out the glass layers for that, but there's not a whole lot to do that. Reason to do that. There's just not a whole lot of anything else I can do. So let's see if we can clean this bayonet. How about that? Move the camera back. Here I got the bayonet. Good thing this ice wall runs out. Typically what can happen, or what happens, is there's that little mixer nozzle in there. You can go in there with a pair of pliers and grab and pull just like that. There you go. Tube, mixer nozzle. Should really be wearing gloves for this. Some acetone. And then just a little hobby syringe or whatever you want to consider it. Take the hobby syringe and I just fill it up with acetone, and then I just run it down here into the bayonet tube. Do that a couple of times. That'll flush the acetone out of it a little bit. Make sure you get all of it. Then the mixer stick here, same thing, just run it in acetone. And that's really all you do, is you just run it through here. Since these are somewhat flexible, you can even bend it and leave it in the acetone, or if you got a bigger jar, you could throw it in that jar. It takes a little bit of time to clean these out, but it'll clean up. Just gotta be patient. So there's the F-14 for you guys. A pretty good day of updates. I think this is 10 videos already loaded up, and then the 2 videos of the fuselage structure. So I'll get these loaded up, adjust some of the CAD files so they fit a little bit better, and I'm gonna call it a night, maybe even a weekend. I don't know. We'll see. So until next time, y'all have a good one, and we'll see you back here in the shop.